A doctor who played a key role in establishing the Northern Territory Government's new mandatory alcohol rehabilitation program has quit in protest at the way the program is being run, as well as the treatment of Aboriginal drinkers. The expert in addictive medicine says he hopes his decision to speak out will prompt the government to rethink its reluctance to stem the flow of alcohol in the Territory. Michael Coggan reports from Darwin.
These are the people the Northern Territory Government wants to help break free from alcohol and homelessness.
We stand along ground. That's where we live here.
Laurie Waters is spending the night drinking with friends, fresh from a 3-month alcohol-free stint in jail.
You can't stop no one to stop drinking. We're alcoholic.
But Mr Waters doesn't think the Territory's new mandatory alcohol rehabilitation program will make any difference to him. The specialist doctor who helped to establish the program agrees.
I fail to see how it can possibly have any long-term effects as long as there is no attention being paid to changing the drivers of drinking.
Lee Nixon has been a doctor for 3 decades, including 20 years as an addictive medicine specialist. He agreed to help set up the mandatory rehab program to make sure it was done properly. But now he's packing his bags in protest and heading home to New Zealand.
It was pushed through to begin on the 1st of July as the government wanted, and that meant that any sense of carefully planning assessment for it was abandoned.
This facility on the outskirts of Alice Springs is one of several where people are put through mandatory rehabilitation. Drinkers taken into police custody 3 times in 2 months are locked up for treatment. There are 20 beds here for people going through the 12-week program.
The grave concern is that here we are essentially incarcerating people for 3 months who have committed no crime. A large number of them had little understanding of the process, and at the end of the time when they were there were still asking, why am I here?
While the program is in its infancy, several people have escaped treatment and others have been readmitted after failing to stay off the grog, including one man who was hoping to gain custody of his son after getting out.
And he was back within about 3 weeks, and he said, it's impossible out there, there's no work for us. All my friends drink, and alcohol is so readily available everywhere. And those were his words, and he almost exactly paraphrased what the research says. At the outset, it was clear that we were introducing a program with no evidential base for effectiveness.
The mandatory treatment laws have been enforced since July. The government has refused media access to see the process in operation until a 6-month review is completed. But Dr Nixon has told us there is no review in process.
The great tragedy is, as I say, that it's an experimental program, and the indecent haste in which it was introduced has precluded any good assessment of whether it's going to achieve anything or not.
We accelerated as quick as we could because we knew that people were dying on our streets because of the effects of alcohol on their lives, on themselves, their families and their communities.
Despite a lack of evidence, the Territory Government is convinced mandatory treatment will work.
And we are firmly committed to delivering long-term solutions to people who've got chronic alcohol abuse and misuse issues. Our mandatory alcohol rehabilitation program is delivering real results.
I defy anyone in government to tell me that that mandatory treatments had an effect at this point. Again, it's a little bit too early to judge, but I would say equally it was far too early to judge the effectiveness of the banned drinkers register.
Under the banned drinkers register, more than 2,000 people were banned from buying takeaway alcohol. It was scrapped when the country Liberals won government last year. Along with Dr Nixon, police are urging the government to do more to stem the supply of alcohol.
One of the ways to deal with that is the issue of supply, and neither the Labor government or the CLP government has covered itself in glory when it comes to that type of thing, because they're simply too close to the industry.
The Territory Government is also being criticised for moving to introduce new alcohol protection orders aimed at banning people from drinking.
They will be prohibited from either possessing or drinking alcohol, and if they break that, they will then be jailed.
The alcohol protection orders are designed to help people get off the grog, but for people who are charged with a criminal offence that ascertains to more than 6 months imprisonment. I hear a lot of negative commentary about APOs where people are trying to defend the people who are drunk committing crimes.
The fact the government wants to introduce protection orders by the end of the year is news to this group of drinkers, but they're not impressed by the way they're being treated by Chief Minister Adam Giles.
He's checking black people rubbish. He's Aboriginal fella, but he's checking black people rubbish too. His own countrymen, you know.
Michael Coggan, Late Line.